It is Lovac and Gaz here with you on the non-traditional media side. We appreciate you following along. Today's a special day for the Lovac and Gaz show because our guy Lovac is celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday to Lovac, the big 5-0. I got the picture from his daughter and his soon-to-be son-in-law, or as he likes to say, the ex-boyfriend. They are enjoying Epcot today, so congrats to the Lovac family celebrating the big 5-0 in style. Now, although Lovac is not here and he's going to be back with us on Monday, August 31st, we're still giving you content. We're still giving you ways in which hopefully you can cash some wagers, have some fun, and enjoy these final summer weekends. A friend of our show, the wonderful Sean Martin, is kind enough to join us to give us a little college football preview. And for those of you watching on the video side, he's got his Nebraska Cornhusker gear ready to go. We're going to talk about Syracuse, Nebraska, college football storylines, teams we're going to root for, and more. But Pugsley, Sean, Mr. Martin, all the different titles we've got for you. Let's open with this because it unfortunately has become like the talk of the college football season going in. The class of 2022, 5-5. Should these kids be allowed to play? Getting rid of the red shirts. Who's on a roster? Can you be an NFL player and still play? I toss it to you. What do you make of this stuff? And to you, is that unfortunately been the story, the talk of the summer leading into the college football season?
No, it's insanity. I mean, they can't allow you just can't allow guys that have gone pro, signed contracts, can't cut it and come back. That's just, where's the line? Where's the floor on this? The NIL is one thing that's created a complete disaster because they put it in with no plan. Now it's just players are, what they need to do is sign players to contracts multiple years. Anyway, hopefully that's coming. But it's insanity. But guys going in the transfer portal after realizing they're going to get cut from an NFL team, that's just lunacy. At some point, the Big Ten has put a stop to that. The SEC said no, thank you. You gotta have a floor, and I'm not sure the NCAA has it.
The problem with this whole thing is when these courts got involved too, right? These like interesting judges, state to state, of we're going to sue everybody and just bend our rules state to state. The NCAA probably knew for decades this could happen, and they just waited. The house of cards has always been the comparison to the NCAA. And one day it was going to fall, and it's right now falling. And we got an ace over here, a jack over there, a four. That's what's happened for me for this like 5-5. This is a dad. I feel for teachers who have to go with this. You heard the teacher, hopefully not about us when we were younger, but this is why we can't have nice things. That's what I think about. Because the initial thought of a red shirt was, hey, a kid got hurt or a kid's not ready to play physically yet. We are going to sit he or she for a year so they can get used to college. Maybe they can get a master's degree. That was the initial intent. Or they got hurt and can't play, and it's not fair they blow their eligibility. Right, that was the original thought of a red shirt. But now we want to bend it. Oh, and by the way, hey, if a kid gets their degree and wants to go to another school and play, you should be rewarded for getting your degree and getting the opportunity to play for a fifth year as a graduate. Not, well, he played 4 games and he's got to go to another state and he had COVID, but we lost rational thought, like this doesn't make any sense. I'm with you on this.
No, you know what, and I can't unfairly blame the NCAA. You just said it. It goes into the lap of these judges that are wherever. Was that guy in Lubbock, Texas, that said Brendan Sorsby could play for Texas Tech despite all the gambling? And where Tech was wrong was they supported that, and like, you got to run fast and run far away from that mess. And they tried to embrace it, and look how it turned out for them. But again, it goes into the courts. You never know what's going to happen.
We will talk about our favorite teams. We'll talk about a big prediction for the season, maybe a national champion. But not only has it been the talk of Brendan Sorsby, and it's been the talk of what's a fifth year, what's a senior, it feels like it's a summer and a season of Notre Dame football. Now, both you and I know this is Capital Region, me now, former resident, but we know there's a lot of Fighting Irish fans there in the 518, and it is no doubt a polarizing program. You either love Notre Dame or you hate Notre Dame. Notre Dame left out of the college football playoff last season. 2 seasons ago, they get an opportunity to play for a national championship. They lose to Ohio State. When you view this Notre Dame football team and this overall program, what are your thoughts on the Fighting Irish?
All right, full disclosure. I grew up in a Notre Dame family.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay,
Okay.
I did. I went and saw Nebraska play in South Bend in 2000. I called my grandmother. I said, I am in South Bend. I'm here. Her first question was, what color are you wearing today? And I was wearing Tommy Frazier Husker red. I was Husker head to toe. I said, Graham, I'm wearing red today, though I did have a carnation on, which was a lie. But I said, I'm not rooting against Notre Dame. I'm rooting for Nebraska. And she told me, she's like, your father's rolling over in his grave right now. and I said, okay, look, you make decisions in life and you got to live with the consequences. So I'm not sure she ever forgave me for that. I've never rooted against Notre Dame other than when they played Nebraska. I'm off Notre Dame. You cannot continue to have it both ways. They have their own TV deal. They play a partial conference in a not so great conference. Now they have this new deal where they're going to be in the playoff no matter what they do. They get outraged last year when they get left out. I was going to read you some of the powerhouses they have on the schedule this year. Rice, Michigan State, at least that's Big Ten. Stanford, North Carolina, they're not even getting the best of the ACC. Yes, Miami is there. Yes, SMU is there. Navy, they want to hold on to, well, here's what they want. They want the easy powder puff schedule, and they cling to their traditional rivalries, which they, for the most part, dominate. USC is always tough. Even that's coming off the books, right? They don't want to play anybody tough, but because they're Notre Dame, everyone's supposed to lick their boots and say, okay, we'll just put them in the tournament. I'm done with Notre Dame. And after last year, win your games. Win your games. You started off 0-2, two tough matchups. They lost them both. That's the way it goes.
That's exactly right. You had the team in front of you. You had to beat it. You had to make the play. Look, is it clunky and odd that James Madison and Tulane got in? Sure, but those were the rules that were set in front of you. Like, that's what it was. Would Notre Dame have smoked those two teams? Yes. But the complaining, the altering, the skipping the bowl game, I love it. Taking the teams off the schedule, like, that's exactly right. They are, and I'm shocked we've hit late August and this hasn't been what they've embraced. The moment they came out of the playoff last year and started doing some of the things you referenced there, I don't get why they didn't want to embrace the villain role. LeBron kind of did that those first few seasons with Miami. They should own it. They're going to get booed out of the building everywhere they go. They're Notre Dame. People hate Notre Dame or root for Notre Dame. They should have said, we're the bad boys of college football this season. Everyone's against us, whether or not that's true or not. Look, you can convince teenagers and young college kids whatever mantra you want. That's almost a part of this thing in college football. You need some cool mantra. They should have embraced the villain role this season. Maybe they will. They still have yet to kick off. But there are a lot of people who are going to root against this team for some of the reasons you said, and also because of the way they acted. Now, on my end, like, I find myself at times rooting for Notre Dame just like as a college football fan, as someone who likes the tradition. Like, I would love to go like you did. I'm jealous that you've got to go to South Bend. I would love to go. I would love to bring my kids to be like, this is awesome. This is uniquely different for something in America. A quick story. My wife played it now, the defunct, the College of St. Rose. And she likes telling the story that she's a casual sports fan. She'll come in and out and she'll root for people more than teams. And she saw one of her teammates wear a Notre Dame, like just a t-shirt. And the trainer said, listen to me, if anyone ever walks in here again with a Notre Dame sweater, t-shirt, gear, you're just going to do conditioning for the rest of the day. So like, random Division II volleyball girls coaches were having people have their disdain for Notre Dame. They got a great defense. They got a great offensive line, arguably two of the best. They might be 1-1. To your point about the schedule, right? Like, think about this. If they go undefeated, they're getting in, right? We get that. 12-0, they're getting in. But with SMU and Miami and BYU, okay, let's say they lose one game. Let's say they lose to Miami. They're going to get in still. They're going to get in at 11-1. What gets really fascinating is BYU could get to the Big 12 title game and be 11-1, 12-0 because they don't even play. We'll say 11-1, right? Let's say Notre Dame loses two games. So they lose to an 11-1 BYU and an undefeated Miami. They're going to make a case to still be in. And if you take BYU out, and let's say they beat the Cougars and they lose to SMU could be 11-1. So there's a real chance that Notre Dame can get in the college football playoff with 0 losses, 1 loss, or 2 losses. I don't know if they're going to get to 3. We saw last year Penn State and Clemson as preseason favorites not make the tournament, but that's probably even the more frustrating thing. They're in with a 10-2 record because of how their competition and their losses might face, which is, there you go, villain roll. There you go. Wait for December. People go nuts about it again.
Look, you get into a big conference, you don't always play everybody in your conference. Okay. Nebraska doesn't play Ohio State, Michigan every year. But the game has changed, and Notre Dame doesn't want to change. And that's why they lose any sympathy from me. Okay, it's because of that. Look, I don't like all these changes in college football. Other than the play, I love the playoff. I think they're going to absolutely oversaturate it. I wish they would go to 16 and eliminate the byes, because the teams that have the bye week have a distinct disadvantage. And when they sit around for over a month to go play, but go to 16 and call it a day. But for Notre Dame, hey, get in a conference. That's where they lost me, was last year with the whining about the bowl game. And I worked with a guy who was a Notre Dame lifer and saying, well, they should have put him in because they had Jeremiah Love, who's the best player in college football, and now he's not even going to be in the bowl game, and it's going to rob all the fans of seeing him playing one more time. Well, then tell him to suit up and play. Okay, that's a choice.
That's right.
They're making choices. Love made a choice. That's fine. But you can't have it both ways anymore. The complete landscape of college football is completely flipped in the last, 5 years, 6 years?
Exactly right. Yeah. Let's move on to your squad, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, because they are always interesting. Despite your Cornhuskers not having the same type of success they had way back in the Tom Osborne years, it's always a program that brings national headlines. The offseason, you and I, for the last, I think, 3 or 4 summers, we've done our college football preview together. Yeah. And Dylan Raiola was the name we mentioned. We thought he was going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. He said, I want to go be a backup at Oregon and take some money. Matt Rule, rumored to maybe jump to Penn State. It seemed like a done deal. It didn't happen. Your thoughts on overall this upcoming Cornhusker season and what the last few months have been like out there in Lincoln?
The schedule is challenging, right? And so with Rule, it's year 4, and I think most Husker fans, we expect 11 or 12 wins. That's what we want. I think 8 is a good number given their schedule this year. Here's the positives. I like Anthony Calandria coming in, a quarterback from UNLV, Mountain West Player of the Year last year. He fits Dana Holgerson's offense better. His offense rolls better with a dual threat quarterback. They imported a few offensive linemen through the portal, LSU and Clemson. They got the offensive line coach, Cheap Wade, comes in from Georgia Tech. That's one of the finest rushing programs in the country forever. I love that. Good defensive coordinator, Rob Orrick from San Diego State, brings in Owen Chambliss, who's a game wrecker at linebacker. The pieces are there. Okay, Calandria's got to get over some turnover issues he had at UNLV. But the Raiola thing, I was thinking about it this morning. See ya, right? What Raiola did for Matt Rule 2 years ago was very important because he gave him credibility in recruiting. When he signed a 5-star guy, he had to have that. But when it went south, I don't think that was all Raiola leaving on his own. I think that was at minimum a mutual thing. I know Rule went down to Georgia, met with the family. It wasn't working for the Huskers. He wasn't a good fit for the system. But then after he leaves, the spin control, right, in PR, you start to leak out little things because you want to look better. So all of a sudden, now people are saying Raiola he took too many sacks. They said the reason he was doing that was he was trying to not hurt his completion percentage with bad throws or throwing the ball away. So he took hits he didn't need to take. Then you hear that part of his NIL agreement was that he got to walk out 10 feet in front of the team through the tunnel in the tunnel walk. So now that gets out there somehow, those mysterious leaks, to try and make the program look better. I think it's addition by subtraction, because I don't know if it was ever going to work there. And that's too bad, because when that kid showed up in Lincoln, they gave him, he was the master of the kingdom there. All right. And they made bowl games both years. Last year, he broke his leg against USC. They were looking at probably a minimum of a 9-win team. But I think they're going to be better without him, because Calandria and even the backup, TJ Lateef, who's a sophomore who played when Raiola broke his leg last year, showed some chops in that system. So I think they're going to be better than people think. But yeah, and Raiola, announces he's going to Oregon. 2 days later, Dante Moore pulls himself out of draft consideration, and all of a sudden now he's a backup. So we'll see. Maybe he could use that year. I think he needs to be a little more humble. Quarterbacks need to have a chip on their shoulder. I'll give him that. I think he got a little too full of himself in Lincoln.
Dante Moore, Dylan Raiola, Carson Beck, Trinidad Chambliss. Like, we're 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to look back at some of these quarterbacks and be like, okay, so hang on a second. Guys were right. Like guys wanted to be backups to take money to not play. Guys didn't want to go pro because they said, oh, I'll make $4 or $5 million in college and wait to go to the NFL. It's not going to make sense to a lot of people, whether that's because we just aren't used to it. You know, this is the first of these guys saying, no, I don't want to be the number 2 pick in the draft. I want to make $4 million in college to improve your future. It's either not going to make any sense, or 5 or 10 years from now, people like, obviously he went back to college.
Sure.
Why wouldn't he? Everybody does that now. You make as much money as you can for 4 or 5 years here, and you make as much money as you can. So they're going to be a fascinating group study at some point, and he's included in that mix of players. Here's the other thing about Nebraska. This is a compliment, Nebraska fans. It won't sound like it. This is a compliment. Somebody's got to go 9-3. Somebody's got to go 8-4. It's one of my favorite things. Goss Senior tells me about the expansion of these leagues and conferences. I'm sure you've heard me do this rant before, but like when they had the expanded SEC and Big 10 and Big 12, like math will tell you someone one year has to go 7-5. So the thing with Nebraska, this is a great scenario that could play out. Because of how that schedule sits, they can be 5-0 going to October 10th against Indiana. And if they're 5-0 against Indiana, that's big noon kickoff or college game day. So one of those two squads, somebody's coming to Lincoln, and those moments matter. When you've got a nationally televised game against the defending national champions and you're undefeated and it's at home, you're going to have the place rocking. And again, because of the Big 10 and the SEC, like if it's big noon kickoff in Nebraska and you're playing the defending national champions and you're 5-0, anything can happen at that point. Indiana's better. But if all of a sudden Nebraska shocks the world and they're 6-0 and just took down Indiana, gosh, it feels weird saying if Nebraska could beat Indiana. I'm not used to that yet. But if Nebraska could beat, right? But like if Nebraska could beat Indiana in front of a college national stage and they're 6-0, they're in the top 15. They finished 9-3. Like that seems like a dream scenario, at least for younger college football fans. Like, would you be thrilled with that? Can I sell you that? A 9-3 season and a big win on a national stage in mid-October.
You can sell me that because that program hasn't beaten a top ranked team since my kids were 3 weeks old and in the NICU in 2016 when they beat Oregon and Lincoln. We need that. Gosh. We need some win, and the Huskers better start winning games in November. I don't know if they're just worn down. I'm not sure if it's a strength and conditioning thing. They lose every November game, it feels like, and they better not this year because I'm taking my kids to the Rutgers game in November. It'll be their first ever football game. I'm not traveling all the way down there to lose to Rutgers. So they got to figure out the November thing.
Ohio State and Iowa are in that November schedule too. That's not easy. You know, those teams, Iowa, you can feel it now, right? A 13-6 final against the Hawkeyes and snow's coming down in Iowa City.
I don't know how they win games.
Right?
Watching Iowa is like watching paint dry, but they beat us every year, and it's aggravating as you can imagine.
I can imagine it's going to be the day after Thanksgiving. It's going to be a noon kickoff, and people are like, oh, this is really college football. Close out the season, whatever this Iowa punting formation is. We flipped from Nebraska to Syracuse, the squad that I root for, have been covering for our friends over at Roundtable Sports. Syracuse goes for a double-digit win season year one under Fran Brown. Year two, it's 3-9, but 8 straight losses when their quarterback, former Notre Dame quarterback, Steve Angeli, gets injured. I feel like you shouldn't celebrate mediocrity. No one should celebrate a C+ or a C, but I would be thrilled if the team goes 6-6 and 7-5. I would be happy if my team got to a bowl game. They've got some tough matchups. Can we celebrate 6-6, 7-5 for my Syracuse Orange? What do you make of that? Or should my expectations be a little higher for Fran Brown in year 3?
No, I think small steps are okay. You know, it's funny being a Nebraska fan for years. You're in New Year's Day games, and now you're celebrating a bowl game when there's about 52 of them on the grid. it's hard to imagine that's a great year when you're playing in the Mayo Bowl, but it really is. Not to pick on the Mayo Bowl, but
it is. Dump that mayonnaise on your coach in December. Right? That's
right. Hoist the trophy. All right. You want to hoist the national, not have mayo dumped on Matt Rule's head. But again, I'll take it because you want some positivity and build some momentum. And going back to Nebraska real quick, the 27 recruiting class is beyond elite. It's one of the top classes in the country.
Yes,
Trey Taylor's leading the charge there. If they can get a good year and build on that the next year, hopefully, you keep those recruits, keep some of the guys around, you'll be okay. But the Orange, dare to dream, man. Dare to dream. Dream big. Dream 9-3. Why not?
Get to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, baby. Get there. Eat that live Pop-Tart. Have some fun. Go to Florida in December from Central New York. If you double your win total, so many teams in college football would love to double their win total. Schedule's stacked. You got to play 3 top 25 teams on there. UConn was going to be a 10-win season last year if they didn't lose 2 games in the fourth quarter in overtime. 6-6 and 7-5 is fine. And you keep building off of that and you hope you get better. And like you said, hope you can bring some young guys in the class of 27. See, now you got to catch myself with these recruits. The class of 27 is better than this upcoming class. You got 2 4-stars and a 5-star. Be better the next season than you were the season before and build off of that. I want to get a big prediction out of you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you got Syracuse opens with New Hampshire. Maybe you get a jet-lagged Cal team coming east. They should have scheduled that game for noon rather than 3:30 and get them nice and early before they've had their Wheaties.
That's right. See, I love how you and I think about these matchups the same way as longtime college football fans. Get the West Coast team with the early kickoff, get a noon. The rumor is that 3:30 kickoff, they're trying to hype up this new thing called the Quad at Syracuse, and that's a discussion for another day. They've changed the whole tailgating scene. Fran Brown wants it done a certain way. He wants a victory mark. It's okay. Hey, they got a rock climbing wall and a mechanical bull. So is it a father of 3 sons? They got stuff to do out there. That's have fun for the kids, and they want to expand on that. That's the rumor of why. But for people who like to invest and want to win the games, I would have liked that noon kickoff too. All right, I want a big prediction out of you and your national champion. When the big prediction can be anything, whether it's a team that overachieves, a surprise team, something that happens in college football, maybe a coach losing their job, one big prediction and a national champion. But first, before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at Mohawk Honda. It's Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. They are a proud sponsor of this show. We appreciate their support. We appreciate them having our backs all the way through. We're talking digital, non-digital, whatever it is. Mohawk Honda has been there. Greg Johnson is cracking me up. He has some hilarious content up on social media right now. Ben, Nate, I don't know who gets credit for those videos, but Greg's having a great time on social media. Make sure to bring in your hygiene-based products to Mohawk Honda throughout the entire month of August as they're helping local charities across the 518 with those people in need. Don't forget, Levac and I are back live. That's right. This baby's going live on Monday, September 14th. That wraps up the week 1 coverage of the NFL. So we'll break down all the action from week 1 and get you ready for more action coming up. So again, we are live on Monday, September 14th from Mohawk Honda. It's Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. Love my Pilot. My wife loves her Odyssey. Run around Central New York over the next few weeks here as summer closes out. One other quick reminder before we get to our predictions and national champions on this college football preview edition. We are live Thursday, September 17th from 6:30 to 8 at Herbie's Burgers, the new spot on Lark Street. And also Monday, September 20. Let me redo that. Monday, September 21st, we're at Herbie's Burgers on Lark Street. So note that. The 21st is Herbie's. The 17th is at the Hideaway. So if you heard me screw that up, and I'm not going to edit that because we've got it on the ticker right now. We've got it on the info. So the 17th is the Hideaway. The 21st is Herbie's Burgers. Now let's get to the predictions. Now that I've gone through that read, and hopefully the sponsors still like me after botching that, we're fine. We got it on the ticker. Sean, I'll toss it back to you. One big prediction for the season and your national champion.
One big prediction will be the Final Four, the semis. Ohio State will not be playing.
Ooh.
Here's why. Look, they have NFLers up and down that roster, but they lost an incredible amount of talent, especially on defense. Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs. Jeremiah Smith is an elite player. They're going to love him. I'm not a Julian Sayin fan. You hear people talking about him being a first-round pick next year. I don't see that. I don't see an NFL quarterback in him. We'll see how it plays out, but that's where Ohio State's going to fall short this year. National champ, you know what? When in doubt, I've just kind of learned to go to Georgia. They have an experienced quarterback. They have a great coach. They're whining too much about leaving the NCAA. You want to take your ball and go home and have a little pity party down south, go ahead. But until then, I like Georgia this year. I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to give you a Final Four sleeper. It's got to happen for Lincoln Riley down in LA at some point with USC. That's my sleeper to get to the semis.
I love all these. All right, let me start with Ohio State for you, because totally with you on your Buckeyes take, because let's look at this combination of 5 teams, right? Ohio State has to play. They have to play in no particular order: Michigan, Texas, Oregon, Indiana, and one other one. Who did I miss there? Oregon,
Nebraska.
Indiana, Nebraska. Thank you. And USC. And USC. Okay. So there's just 6. See, I went 4. I went 6 there. So of those 6 teams, for real, like of those 6, Nebraska, USC, Oregon, Indiana, Texas, and Michigan. Nailed it that time. Let's say they lose 3. Like, that's not crazy. They could lose to Texas, USC, and Oregon. I don't think they get in at 9-3. Even if they get to 10-2, like let's play your scenario, right? Like, let's say they're in the playoff, but they got to play somebody tough in the opening round. They're not going to get even this. Like, let's say they're 11-1. Let's say they get through that gauntlet. They're 11-1. They're a top 4 seed. Aren't you just going to run out of gas? like you're not built like an NFL team. I'm with you. I love the Ohio State take.
Yeah, last year you and I did a show, and my sleeper heading into it was Texas was going to go into Columbus and beat them, and that didn't happen. I think I just hate Texas. It's hard to root for them. I think Manning showed something other than just his last name the last half of last year, and I think Texas is going to be waiting for them when they head down to Austin for it.
I love the USC thing too. Like, USC's been a team I just keep juggling with about actually wagering money on. Like, am I bold enough to put them in the college football playoff? I think that matchup with Ohio State and a few other ones on that schedule, if they have to win those big games, I want to see it. They've got the talent. The whole talk about USC is, can they actually tackle? Can they actually play defense? And Lincoln Riley heard it. He's like, I got to get the best of the best on defense. I know my offense is going to be good. I like their quarterback. He's like 6'3", 250. So our joke, that's mantra this year at Levack and I is, hey, if it's 3rd and 4, can I just get 5 yards? Can I just get 5? He can get you 5. I don't know if it's going to be flashy, but he can dive forward to get you 5. So I love the USC take, and Georgia's a safe pick. Why not, right? 8 straight SEC title game appearances, not counting COVID. They've always been there. They win close games. They find a way to win. I'll give you 2 predictions here to close this out. The team that I absolutely love, and I don't think they get to the college football playoff, but they are going to shock people. They might find themselves in the top 15, top 10 at one point this season. I love the Florida Gators. I love Florida, and I know they're coming off of firing their head coach. I know all that stuff happened. John Summerall has been hired, the former coach there at we'll call it the group of 5 spot. But look at Florida's schedule all of a sudden. Florida Atlantic, Campbell. Yeah, they got to go War Eagle against Auburn, but Auburn's got changes with their staff as well. They get Ole Miss at home, but that Ole Miss game is post LSU. So are the kids going to be jacked up as much for that game against Florida in the swamp as they were for the previous game ahead? Missouri, South Carolina. So I can get Florida at 6-0 going to Texas, and then you flip around, you get a bye week before the cocktail party. Like, this Florida schedule lays out really well for them. The kid who's taken over at quarterback after how bad it was last year for the quarterback, because DJ Lagway was the quarterback last year. They got this kid Pico. I believe that's the pronunciation. Anthony Pico is the best Georgia quarterback since Trevor Lawrence. So I got an unknown kid playing quarterback. They got Buster Faulkner, who made Georgia Tech good as an OC. So my big prediction, the team to look out for this season's Florida. I don't think it's enough to get to the playoff. They might finish 9-3, but that's one of my favorite plays. I love the Gators this year. And my national champion, I do believe Notre Dame is going to be the number 1 team in the country for most of the year. But what's going to happen is, as we've mentioned throughout this conversation, did they play enough during the season? Like,
Yeah.
are they going to get to the semis or the quarters and just be like, we didn't have a conference championship game. We had a bye week. I love my Orange, but their final game is scheduled against Syracuse. Like, did they just coast for a month and they're just not ready? So I think the Oregon Ducks are going to do it again. I think I gave you that same pick 2 years ago. I like the Oregon Ducks. I'm going back to the Ducks. They've lost 3 games in 2 years. They keep losing the eventual national champions.
Yeah.
I'll take Oregon. Eventually, they're going to break through and get that thing done. And quack, 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 Dan Lenning and company and win their first national championship in program history. That sounds odd for how close they've been, but they still haven't broken through and given Phil Knight that title.
Yeah, they're tough, right? They're tough. I think I have them in the semifinals as well. You know, the interesting midseason matchup is Oregon at USC. That'll be a wild one, and then Ohio State goes out to LA. But yeah, Oregon's tough, and that, you know, you can't prepare for speed, and that's what they bring. You know, you can't practice to face speed because you don't have it.
They're so fast. They're so fast. Whatever uniform combination they're going to trot out there too. Before we let you go, let's plug it. Let's talk about all the things that are going on this fall, because not only do you have your podcast that people know about from the past years, but a new cool podcast for Section 2 fans, Capital Region fans who are doing something a little different. So make sure let's get those plugs in. Where can people find you over the next few weeks?
YouTube, Fantasy Baseball Now. We just did last night our 101st episode. Been in the podcast thing for about 6-7 years now. 6-7. 101.
We both hit it. Look at us, dads hitting the 6-7. Good for us.
And then next week, with through a YouTube channel at Section 2 Sports Pod, I'll be premiering Section 2 Sports Podcast. It's a weekly show devoted just for Section 2 high school sports. All different kinds of sports guests. I'm scheduled to have James Allen from the Times-Union on each week. Looking forward to that. James is awesome. Big game. He's at every big event for pushing 30 years, I believe now. You'll be able to find that on YouTube again at Section 2 Sports Pod. And also the link is going to be shared on the Times-Union website as well, providing a link for the show. And I'm really excited about that. And it's, you know, being in the media and writing for the newspaper, this will be my 20th year. In areas like this where we don't have a Syracuse football and we don't have, you know, major college sports, high school sports is a big deal in this area in the media and stuff. So I'm hoping, hopefully we got good things coming with the podcast.
Well, keep up the great work. We're looking forward to the future of the podcast. Enjoy college football action this weekend. Oh, that felt so good to say.
Absolutely.
Week 0. We'll talk again soon. College football preview. We wrap it up, cash some tickets, and we'll have more fun on the way.